with us now, retired four-star general of the United States Air Force, former Supreme Allied Commander, Allied Forces Europe and of NATO, General Phil Breedlove. It's good to see you, sir. As always, I'm almost thinking this might work, especially because Donald Trump seems far more willing to sanction Russia's oil industry than Joe Biden ever was.
Yeah, I see a lot of promise here, Leland. Mr. Trump, former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, we've been told, had a conversation with Mr. Putin and sort of laid a few things down to sort of pave the way ahead. And one of those was, don't accelerate this war. And within days, Mr. Putin went into the Kursk region with North Korean troops. And in the next week, he launched 3 of the largest nighttime drone raids of the war. And so I think Mr. Putin has made a mistake that will also move Mr. Trump along to maybe a little more stringent approach to Mr. Putin and Russia.
The argument here, Trump is more willing to hurt Russia's economy. Trump's surrounded by pro-Ukrainian hardliners, which he is. You think about Mike Waltz and certainly Marco Rubio's sex state. Trump may use sanctions on oil and gas and commodities. Trump also doesn't have the vulnerability domestically in the United States because he can sanction Russia's oil and gas industry, and he is not beholden to the climate change folks here in the U.S. You don't do politics, but you just said there's lots of promise. Why is nobody talking about that in the national security world?
Well, I think we've all been watching the narrative that our president-elect has had about NATO, Russia, and Ukraine. And it started in a very different place, say, 2 months ago or 3 months ago during the height of the campaign. But as we approach that point where the president will be in charge again, his approach has seemed to stiffen a bit. And as I said, Mr. Putin is hurting himself. Plus, as you said, I mean, our president-elect is strong on understanding the economy and the use of economic tools. And while Mr. Putin tries to show the world that he's strong and his economy is okay, we all know that it is not. He is vulnerable. And our president-elect knows how to take him to task in those kinds of tools.
This is from President Zelenskyy on Donald Trump. He's very strong and unpredictable, and I would really like to see President Trump's unpredictability apply to Russia. I believe he really wants to end the war. There's an interesting thing about Vladimir Putin, right? George W. Bush looked into his soul at Crawford, thought he figured him out. Putin embarrassed him. Same with Barack Obama. Same, frankly, with Joe Biden. Is Putin really that good, or do American presidents, perhaps sans Donald Trump, always just want to fall into the same trap?
Well, I think it's a little of both. I hate to speak out both sides of my mouth. Mr. Putin is a smart man. Those people who don't understand that are, I think, at a deficit in their conversation. He is sly like a fox, and he knows how to manipulate and use not only nice words, but not nice words as he tries to manipulate a person. And all American presidents want to come in making it better and trying to find peace with our big opponents. And so we sort of all start out that way. I would just offer to shorten up here that I think the difference with President Trump is he's been a president before, and he knows how people negotiate. He wrote a book where a chapter was all about how to start negotiations. And I think Mr. Trump will see through Mr. Putin this round a little more. Mr. Putin's actions across this war in Ukraine are horrendous. And
Yep.
I think our president has come to know that.
Yeah, and Donald Trump does not like to be embarrassed, and is quite vengeful, might be the right word, when he feels like he might be. General Breedlove, we got to leave it. It's good to see you, sir. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven unbiased coverage.